Okay, y'all, I'm back. I hope everybody had a wonderful day. Thanks again for tuning in to my channel. We're going to get this done. Today, we're going to look into why we try to live in fear. You know, that's an oxymoron. It's the two opposites. You can't live in fear. It immobilizes you. It makes you sit still. You can't move forward. You can't move backwards. You're just like a statue. You're stuck, or whatever. So to say that we're living in fear, that's ridiculous. You know, all we're doing is existing. I said before that there's a difference between living and a difference between existing. Living, you're prospering, you're moving, you're going places, leaps and bounds, you're on purpose, you're on fire, you're doing something. Whereas existing, you're sitting still, you're in the same rut. Every year you find yourself in the same place. You're going through the same things, the same struggles, the same trials. Maybe you may have changed relationships, but you're still dealing with the same type of relationships. You know, it's patterns that we're stuck in. And we find ourselves dealing with different people, different faces, but we gravitate toward the same type of situations, the same type of patterns. So we tend to find ourselves try to live in fear, but you cannot live in fear. All you can do is be frozen. You be like existing. You're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. You're not moving forward. Like I said last session, there's two types of fear. Acute fear. Acute fear is the fear that poses immediate threat. It gets your adrenaline running. It brings you to a total awareness of something that, you know, is in front of you, circumstances, situations. And you have to act upon it. You're either going to fight for it or you're going to run from it. So that's what an acute fear is. It's an immediate response. It's in your present. Versus a chronic fear is like something that's simmering. You know, something that you're watching all the time, or information that you're staying with all the time. Information that's feeding to you all the time, that's constantly got you in some type of state of fear, some maybe shock, or you know, thinking the world gonna end or whatever. Truthfully, it will, but that's not today as of right now. When it ends, ain't nothing we can do about it. So why sit and worry about it? Someone say chronic fear causes us to sit and worry, and when we worry, it's like a rocking chair. We just sit and rocking back and forth. We're not moving anywhere. We're not going forward. You know, we're not making any progress when we sit in chronic fear. We just, like I say, existing. Acute fear again is, you know, we find ourselves existing in acute fear because we occupy environments, or like I said, we entertain information that causes us to always be afraid, that causes us to always worry that something's going to happen. For a long while, I did on some videos back. For a long while, over my Resilient Truths channel, I was always afraid because the industry that I'm in, mental health industry, it's never solid. You know, it's always changing. You know, I can't put faith in one day to the next. 1 minute the company is up, the next minute the company is down. And it's based on people that are mentally ill. If there are no clients, the company can't strive. The company can't, you know, if we have nobody to treat, no patients, then the company does not go forth. It cannot sit there unless it has patients or clients to treat, to help them get better. So as people get better. I've heard it said that therapists and mental health professionals are in a profession where we work ourselves out of a job because we work to get people better. Medicaid puts it like this: we work to get people to their highest level of functioning. And when they get to that highest level of functioning, then they're discharged. And when they're discharged, they no longer need our services anymore. So if we're sitting there and we're holding on to a person, there are some, it's sad, but there are some that want to hold on to a person and, not get them to their highest level of functioning, or maybe not as quick because they depended on that almighty dollar. But if we are in this for real and we are trying to help people, as we get one to their highest level of functioning, there's always going to be another one to come. And that's why you don't get comfortable and stagnant with one person. You always are telling the people about your company, recruiting, if you will, to keep people going. You don't sit there and just get a client and you just sit there and try to hold on to that client and they never get better. They never, progress. And you keep them to the point where they're depressed. They ain't never going to be nothing. They ain't never going to get out of their situation. And that's how, some do, because they're afraid that if they let that client go, that there won't be another one. Now, we all know that that's insane. But there are some people that are so focused on that one client and not having the income that they need to meet the lifestyle that they need, that they will do that because they're not creative, they're not business minded. They don't want to be doing, you don't never have all your eggs in one basket. And you have to learn to live from a mentality of multiple streams of income. Whereas one may be mental health, another may be social podcasts, another may be ride share or side hustles or whatever it is. You never just depend on one stream of income, because God forbid something happened to that one stream of income. And yes, that acute fear arises. The pandemic came and showed us that. All the time, everybody was off work. The streets of Las Vegas looked like a ghost town. Wasn't nobody, or couldn't nobody go out because of the pandemic, the virus. And we couldn't go to work. Bless God that, things and systems was put into place where we was able to get unemployment. Even the people that had independent contract, they was able to get unemployment to go through that, that season, that time. But imagine if that happened again on a scale where it's in our income and the government ain't got nothing to do with it. That you got to have another stream of income. You can't sit and depend on one person. God forbid that individual die. So how are you going to keep your company going then? I'm talking to the people, the mental health professionals that are so afraid to help their patients get the help they need, and go off and maybe tell somebody, oh, so-and-so, Dr. So-and-so helped me do this, and referral. We got to get out of that. That's that crabs in a bucket mentality, which I was going to get to. We want people to succeed, but we don't want you to succeed at our expense. Or you even have the crabs in a bucket mentality where you want people to succeed, but you don't want them to succeed and get out the bucket before you do. So you'll help them along, you'll pull them along the way, as long as you make it or arrive before they do. That is people living in fear. That's a sign of fear as well. You can't hold other people down or hinder other people from their progress simply because you're not ready to move in your progress. Everybody paces themselves. So what if somebody makes it out before you do? The key is you make it out. Eventually you make it out on your own terms. Nobody's rushing you. You are the captain of your ship. You get out and go through life and get the lessons that you're supposed to get as life teaches at your own pace. Nobody's rushing anybody. But we have people that are so concerned about society and what society thinks and what the society is going to say, to where they want to pull everybody down because they don't want to be left behind, or they want to get out the bucket before everybody else do. A week or so ago, I did a video where my eyelash was crooked or whatever. Now I seen it crooked because obviously I'm looking at the camera. I noticed it, but it didn't bother me so much as I found out it bothered other people. They were so focused on my eyelash to where I hope that they didn't miss the message. But as a narcissist, I can tell you there was a day or a time where I was so concerned about how I looked and what I wore and what people would think. And I couldn't walk out the house without my face done, my hair done, the clothes. Now, because I've been delivered from people, I'm comfortable. I love the skin I'm in, whether I got hair on or not. There was a season where I used to cut my hair down to where I wouldn't have to worry about having it braided or do all this kind of stuff. I could slick it down with some gel or whatever and put my wigs on, because really and truly I don't wear wigs because I don't have hair. I wear wigs because with the industry and the lifestyle that I live, I don't have time to stand there in front of no mirror with no curling iron trying to curl or press and comb. I just don't have the time. Being a single mom, raising 3 children on my own, up to supervisor status and things of that nature, you really don't have that much time for you or little incidental things. So I made choices where I adapted with some things. It's easier for me to throw a wig on and go about my business than it is to sit there and press and perm and dye and comb my hair. Now I comb my hair and brush my hair because it makes my scalp feel good, but that's before I'm getting ready to go to bed, or maybe when I'm watching TV or something like that. But there was a time I used to cut it down so low to where I wouldn't have to worry about it. I can slap whatever wig on I wanted to, because I'm the type of person, I'll wear a wig maybe a week or two or whatever, and then I'll change it. I want a different look or whatever. So I used to do that. But there was people that was always talking and complaining about she ain't got no hair, she bald headed. And that used to bother me because at that time I was deep into my narcissism. I cared what people said about me. It mattered to me what people thought about me. I was so into people until I grew up and realized that people wasn't paying my bills. People gonna always say something. People gonna always talk about you. They talked about Jesus. People just gonna always say something about somebody else because they never take time to look in the mirror and judge themselves. Mic drop. They just don't. So, in order to keep things off of them, they want to look at you and judge you for, make points on you, your size, your weight, the color of your skin. Are you high yellow or dark or whatever it is? Because it's something that's on the inside of them that causes them to exist in fear. There's something in them that causes them to exist in bitterness or be afraid of something. They got to pull you down in order to make them feel that much higher. Narcissists, we love the attention. We love, the accolades, the feedback. We love being in front of people, and they love the content, like a YouTuber. I love when my people text me or tell me or they comment on a video or episode or session that I did or whatever. That feeds me. Okay, it fuels me to want to do more. That's a natural reaction. But for a narcissist, it's overboard. They feed off of that. They can't live unless they have that. They got to be validated. They got to have a sense of validation. It's like they got to be grandiose about it. If somebody else is getting that validation, or that feedback, it makes them feel jealous. It makes them feel like something is wrong, and they go out of their way trying to do something overboard to top that person that was doing something and getting accolades. They want to do something to steal the accolades from them or whatever. We have a lot of narcissists in the pulpit, as far as the religious leaders and stuff. They just love the attention, and it's like they God themselves, and things happen, and it's out of their own strength or whatever. God forbid a young person comes up, and they start preaching or teaching, and everybody's listening to what they gotta say. It's something different. It's not the same old that people been listening to before. So they gravitate to it, and they got their attention. And God forbid. That's why you don't see a lot of churches growing, because I said all the time, and I learned this when I read John C. Maxwell's book. He said, I can't remember the title of it, but in there it spoke clearly to me. He said, you'll never go higher than your lid. Whatever is holding you down, whatever ceiling, you'll never go higher than the ceiling. That's the leader or the mentor or the whatever you're looking up to. If you'll only go that high. That's not to stop. You got to change your lid. You got to go look for something else. When a plant, we do pot a plant into a pot. As it grows and the roots begin to grow and sink, eventually we got to take that plant out of that little pot and we got to put it in a bigger pot. No, the same with us. When we grow under people and we hear all that they have and we're not growing anymore, it's time to change people. It's time to, find a new mentor. If you want to keep growing. If you don't want to keep growing and you want to stop and be stuck where you're at, then you sit under that same leadership. You sit up under there hearing the same message. You can only grow as high as your leader. If your leader stops growing and they stop feeding themselves, they stop personally developing themselves, and they saying the same old message, teaching you the same old thing, and you starting to hear stuff, the same old thing, when you go down in videos and back in the day, and you hearing the same messages being preached today that they was preaching back then that means your leader is not growing. They are not pouring into themselves. I heard a bishop last Sunday sometimes leaders need to sit down and get fed. There ain't too many people doing that, because that crabs in a bucket mentality. We get so afraid that somebody is going to come and say something and steal our whole congregation. So we got to stay up there. We got to stay in the pulpit. We got to keep preaching and teaching until we fall out and can't preach no more. Meanwhile, the church is either dying or the church is leaving and going to other ministries, because people get bored. People get tired of hearing the same old message. They really do. And I'm one of them. If I go and I don't feel like I'm being grown, or I'm not have any service in the ministry, or I'm just a body sitting there, especially if I feel like all I'm doing is giving money in the ministry. I can get money on Cash App. I just send me a little offering, a donation, while I'm sitting at another ministry taking care of business, feeding my soul, learning something, getting new content so I can go out and evangelize and help somebody. It's not meant for us to sit in a seat and warm a pew. Whatever religion, whatever ministry, whatever belief system you have to have a belief system, have something to believe in higher than yourself. Because if you don't, then it's all just you. And that's depressing. You'd have to depend completely on you. And that's sort of narcissistic. Because narcissistic people want everybody to come to them. That they are the end all, the be all. They have everything. They're the king, the queen, or whatever. And if it goes through anybody else, they feel slighted. They feel slighted. They are the most jealous individuals there are on the face of this earth. They got to have it all. And if they don't have it all, they're depressed, they're isolating, they're, by themselves. They can't trust nobody. They always thinking somebody gonna pull them down. As soon as they get up there, something always happen and they get pulled back down in the bucket. Crabs in a bucket. You don't never have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, because they will sabotage each other. Once in a while, want to make it high enough to go ahead and fall over on the other side, but they'll never crawl out. They'll have to fall out. Something will have to happen to where they'll get and fall the other way and not fall back into the bucket. That's how a crab might escape. But leave it to a group of crabs, and they will always find a way to keep another crab in the bucket. That's because they're living in fear. How dare that crab get out and never come back and think about me, never come back and get me. They're so afraid of being left behind or being alone by themselves. It's a sign of depression, because they can't feel enough to be able to love anybody. They don't even know if they love themselves, because they don't feel worthy. They put on this facade, and they wear the high-end clothes and the high-end cars, because they want to make everybody in the world believe that they're okay and everything is okay, and there's nothing wrong with them. They got it all together, got it all going on, but behind closed doors, they're quiet and they're broken on the inside. They don't know what to do. I can raise both my hands. Been there, done that. But personal development, pouring into yourself, loving on yourself. You can't receive love if you don't have love. I said that the last session. If I never found out how to love myself, I would never be able to receive love. I would never be living my best life today. Because I don't care how people love you, if you're able to receive anything from it, they'll never love you like you, and it'll never be enough, because they're not God. People aren't perfect. People gonna make mistakes. So you gotta love them when they not making mistakes, and you gotta love them through their mistakes. If you're not able to do that or capable of doing that, you're always gonna be disappointed. You're always gonna be living in fear. Because you can always, I can't get close to nobody because they're gonna hurt me. They're gonna do something to hurt me. And 9 times out of 10, it's not intentional. They make a mistake in their life, and you just happen to be around the corner or riding along with them, and you get hit by the same mistake. They didn't do it intentionally. What you gonna do? Not trust people to be around people anymore? That you just to the point that you just gonna be by yourself for the rest of your life, because you can't trust that somebody else ain't gonna make a mistake. Now, me, I know people make mistakes, and I choose to be independent. I choose to control my own life. That's not saying that I won't get with anybody. I just said last session it has to be somebody I gotta look up to. I'm not going to get it myself tied up, unequally yoked with an individual that does not believe the same way I do. We can't agree the same way I do. And I'm not going to do dictatorship. I'm not going to have nobody dictating to me what they want me to do. There's got to be a sense of freedom. If I'm going to submit, I'm going to submit freely. Love is freedom. Sometimes love hurts. But love is a freedom. It ain't no domestic violence. It ain't no dictatorship. So, like I say, I want to keep these like 30 minutes. Living in fear is an oxymoron. You can't live in fear. You can only exist in fear. Like I said, chronic fear is, that fear that's simmering on the inside, that worry, worrying that, war gonna break out, worrying. You're worrying about something that's not here yet, It's a potential it could be here, but it's not here yet. But because you're worrying about it now, it's slowing you down, it's hindering you now. So you already experiencing the effects of war by not being able to move now. What you need to do is enjoy your life now. Enjoy your life in the present. Enjoy your life today, for if that day comes. If that day comes before you are 6 feet in the ground, and you haven't enjoyed your life, that's a waste. You're sitting around worrying about something that you could be channeling your energy somewhere else and enjoying your life. That way, if it does happen, you can say you lived your best life. Because if it happened, ain't nothing you can do about it. It ain't nothing you can change. That's out of our control. So make sure you enjoy your life and not sit in fear, worrying about how you can't control the decisions and the lives of others. It makes no sense. Like I said, narcissism and domestic violence. Living with a narcissistic individual that is always sucking all the life out of you and needing all the validation and trying to control you. If you're not living and enjoying your life with that, you're wasting your time. You're not going to change that individual. That individual has to change themselves. They have to want to change. And if they don't want to change, you just wasting your time and being miserable in your own life. If somebody is beating on you, domestic violence, you need to find a way of escape. You need to get out of there before you do lose your life. If you allow them to get away with it the first time, they're going to feel okay to do it again the second time. So respect is, don't let them get away with it the first time. Because once you do that, they don't have no more respect for you. And then they will do it again and again and again, over and over and over. You can't love nobody to the point where they stop hurting you. They got to want to do that on their own. So stop living in fear. Get you some things in place. Get you a support system or whatever and get out of that situation. There's nothing you can do about it. If it's happened multiple times, you're already past it. Get out of there while you got your life, while you still can breathe. You got these immature relationships where people done got married too young, or they don't know, or you got people that don't know how to financial literacy, don't know how to balance a checkbook, don't know how to manage finances, and you living in this relationship with an individual or a human, let's just say, because it's not neither male nor female. We both can be immature in doing or not doing what we're supposed to do financially, and find ourselves in financial ruts and evicted and all this kind of thing. Learn how they manage their finances before you get into the relationship. Don't stay in immature relationships and find yourself just drained financially. You can't go and buy nothing. You taking care of your bills, but you with somebody that you taking care of so much to the point you can't even pour no money into you. I've been in situations to where my finances are so jacked up, not on my own accord, but because I was dealing with some situations or involved with a human or whatever, and my finances, I couldn't get my nails done. I was struggling to put gas in my car. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't go out to eat. I had peanut butter and jelly or whatever, because I'm dealing with an immature individual and they lack of managing finances. Their inability to maintain the finances required for the basic needs, basic necessities. So make sure you're not hooked up with the immature individual. Make sure you're not unequally yoked with somebody who does not agree or believe in the same things that you agree and believe in. Or they just want to mooch off you. Some of them just want a sugar human. I'll say it like this: sugar mama, sugar daddy. Some of them just want somebody that they can live on and use the money or whatever. Like I say, the chronic fear causes all kind of anxiety, and you end up in depression, and you blame everything from social media and cell phones and text messages to caffeinated drinks or whatever. But at the end of the day, the finger belongs to you. Whatever that finger is pointing at, it belongs to you. You got to make sure that you are not self-sabotaging yourself and causing yourself to sit and exist in fear. Living in a state of blame, putting a finger on everybody else ain't help nobody. Because all you keep constantly doing is pointing the finger, blaming somebody. You can't solve no problems pointing the finger. You can solve problems when you take ownership of your own emotions. And that's how you transform your life. When you take control of who you are and your behavior, what your mind and your heart thinks, then that's how you're going to be successful. That's how you can get your own self to your highest level of functioning. If you're hanging around people that are mistreating you, that are not, treating you respectfully, that, they're selfish and they just using you to get, for their gain and get their wants, that ain't taking control of your life. You need to take back control of your life. Take control of your emotions. Don't allow people just to walk and disrespect you and treat you like a doormat. You got to keep your emotions. You got to keep your mind, your focus on your life. Don't give so much of yourself away to where you're benefiting somebody else, because at the end of the day, when that individual turns around and they're going about their way, you're left with nothing. You left building them up and nobody built you up. Nobody helped you. If it's not a give and take, leave it, move it along. Like I said last session, I think too, all melons in this, I'm going to make sure everybody good. And then I got to do me. Because I got to make sure me and my house is good. And if you find yourself in a situation with an individual where all they thinking about is themselves and they making sure they good, or even if they just throwing you the crumbs, you got to get control of your emotions. You can't run around angry and mad at the world and want to go off on an individual. That ain't helping you none. It ain't helping them none. You got to get focused. Get a plan in place. Get a support system if you need to. But you got to take control of the situation. Because if not, you're just going to keep going around in circles. And you're going to be existing in that fear, sitting in that fear. And nothing's ever going to change until one day you're no more. The cycles of life don't stop cycling. Only we and how we respond to it can cause them to stop, at least in our life. That's it for today. Yeah, I'm over 30. I'm at 33 minutes. Yeah. Don't forget for y'all to continually have a blessed day and be intentional.